It was a regular Thursday evening, or so I thought. I'd just come home from work, feeling drained from the day's hustle. The apartment felt a bit emptier than usual, which I found strange. Usually, there's a certain comfort in the quiet after the chaos of a workday. But tonight, the silence felt like something was off. I dropped my bag by the door and kicked off my shoes, slumping down onto the couch. The TV was still off, the house still and still. I stared at the empty space across from me, thinking about the mundane things: laundry that needed folding, the groceries that still had to be bought, and of course my wife. She hadn't come home yet. It was about 9 p.m., and she'd texted me just an hour before, saying she was still at work. That wasn't entirely out of the ordinary. Sometimes she'd get caught up in things. You know how it is. But for some reason, tonight felt different. It was almost like something was pressing on my chest, a subtle weight I couldn't shake off. I glanced at my phone, and there it was again, the message she'd sent. "Hey babe, I'm still at work. Got caught up with some things. I'll be home soon. Love you." I smiled to myself. She always said "love you" before hanging up or signing off. It was comforting, I suppose. But tonight it didn't feel right. The words seemed hollow. I don't know if it was just the exhaustion kicking in, or if I was subconsciously picking up on something that didn't quite add up. I typed a response, trying to push aside the strange feeling gnawing at me. "Take your time. Don't worry about rushing home anytime soon. Our single neighbor came to visit, so I'm not alone or bored. And see you when you get back." I hit send and put the phone down. There it was, casual, lighthearted, maybe a little playful. I wasn't really expecting her to reply immediately. She often got caught up in work, and I knew she'd need time to unwind once she finally got home. So I leaned back, trying to relax. But the moment I put my phone down, I couldn't ignore the strange tension building inside me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. I glanced around again, just scanning the room, but the place seemed just as I'd left it. Nothing out of the ordinary. Then my phone buzzed. I reached for it with a sense of apprehension, a knot forming in my stomach. I don't know why, but that small vibration felt like the beginning of something I wasn't prepared for. The notification popped up. Her name, and the message preview read, "I'll be home in a bit, just finishing up with." And there it was again, that strange sensation. The one that told me things weren't going to be as simple as I'd imagined. But I ignored it, pushing it aside. Maybe it was just a stressful day. I opened the message. It wasn't from her. The message was from a number I didn't recognize. "I hope she's not rushing back too soon. I'll take my time, no rush. Tell her I said hi when she gets home." My heart skipped. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. My pulse quickened. I stared at the screen, confused. Who was this? Why were they texting me? The more I read it, the more the words made no sense. Was she at work, or was she with someone else? I quickly checked the time, 9:15 p.m. Just 15 minutes had passed since her last message. Yet here was this new one from a stranger. A wave of disbelief washed over me, but before I could process anything, the phone buzzed again. This time, it was from her. "Hey, sorry babe, just finished up. I'll be home in 20 minutes. Can't wait to see you." Her text was simple enough, but my mind was already racing. The hairs on my neck didn't settle. My heart was still hammering. And something in me told me there was more to this than a simple mix-up or misunderstanding. I felt cold all of a sudden. The message from the unknown number, the one that felt so off, lingered in my mind like a shadow. Was she cheating? Had she been seeing someone else for a while and I hadn't known? Was this what the late nights, the secretive text messages, the unexplained absences meant? I wasn't ready for this. I didn't want to believe it, but the nagging feeling deep inside me wouldn't let go. I sat there for a long time, staring at my phone, unsure of what to do next. The house was still eerily quiet. My mind raced through every possible scenario. But none of them made sense, not yet. I couldn't shake the thought, what if tonight was the night everything changed? I sat there for what felt like forever, my eyes glued to the phone in my hands, but my thoughts a million miles away. My mind kept racing between the message from the unknown number and the one I had just received from my wife. There had to be some explanation, right? Maybe it was a simple mistake. Maybe it was someone from work, someone she worked closely with. But no, This didn't feel like a mistake. There was something in the air, a thickness that made it hard to breathe. I checked the time again. 9:30 p.m. She'd said she'd be home in 20 minutes. I didn't want to think about what was going through my head, but I couldn't stop myself. What if she had been lying to me? What if that message, that damn message from the unknown number, was the truth? What if she wasn't at work? What if she was with him? I knew I had to stay calm, had to think things through. But as the minutes ticked by, I found myself standing up and pacing back and forth. My heart was pounding in my chest, each step I took echoing in the stillness of the apartment. I tried to reach out to her. I didn't know what I expected her to say. I didn't even know what I was looking for. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to confront her, to ask her, to demand an explanation. I fired off a text. Who was that text from? I didn't want to give too much away. I didn't want to show her that I was already putting the pieces together, but I needed to know. I stared at the message for a few seconds, my thumb hovering over the screen. And then I hit send. I was trying to remain calm, but I felt like I was about to break. The suspense was tearing me apart. Just as I put the phone back down, I heard the door click open. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. She was home. I turned around slowly, the air thick with tension. The door opened fully, and there she was, my wife. She stepped into the hallway, her coat still on, her heels clicking on the floor as she made her way toward the living room. She looked at me, and for a moment, I couldn't read her expression. It was almost too neutral, too controlled. There was no rush in her movement, no relief, no excitement to be home after a long day. Oh, it felt off. Hey, she said, her voice quiet but casual. You okay? I stared at her for a second. Everything in me wanted to believe her, wanted to pretend nothing was wrong, but that damn message kept flashing in my mind. The words of that stranger hung over me like a storm cloud. Yeah, I said, forcing the words out. Just a little tired, I guess. She nodded and smiled faintly, but I could see something in her eyes, something I couldn't quite place. Was it guilt? Was it fear? I wasn't sure, but it made my stomach churn. I stood there for a moment, frozen, and then I couldn't hold it anymore. I had to ask. Who was that message from? I asked, my voice coming out a little sharper than I'd intended. The one I got while you were still at work. Her eyes flickered for just a second. I noticed the way her breath caught in her chest, the subtle tightening of her lips. It was small, but it was there, and it told me everything. She was hiding something. Message? She repeated, frowning like she was trying to play it off. What message? I didn't back down. I knew this wasn't the time for playing games. The one from the number I didn't recognize. The one that said, I'll take my time, no rush. Tell her I said hi when she gets home. I watched as her face shifted slightly. She wasn't smiling anymore, not like before. Her eyes darted away from mine, her hands fidgeting with the hem of her coat. It's nothing, she said quickly, almost too quickly. It's just someone from work. A colleague, I think. Don't worry about it. I wanted to believe her, I really did. But that wasn't the answer I needed. That wasn't enough. You expect me to believe that? I asked, the frustration creeping into my voice now. A colleague? Just like that? She hesitated, and for the briefest moment, I saw at her mask cracking, just a little bit. There was something in her expression now, something that felt far too familiar. It was the same look she gave me when I'd asked about late nights, about her strange behavior, all the little things that didn't add up. She was hiding something. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. Who is he, Sarah? I said, using her full name now, a name that felt foreign on my lips in that moment. Who is he, and what's going on? She stared at me, her eyes hardening, but there was no warmth in them, no reassurance. Just a coldness that made my heart race with anxiety. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I didn't want to tell you like this, she said, her voice quiet now, a softness returning, but it felt more like pity than affection. I thought I could handle it on my own. I stepped back, my head spinning. Handle what? She looked down, as if the weight of whatever she was holding inside was too much to bear. It's been going on for a few weeks now, she confessed. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. I'm so sorry. The words hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt everything in me snap. My world tilted, the room spun. She had been cheating with someone from work, someone I didn't even know about. And now there it was, right in front of me. Everything I'd feared, all the pieces falling into place. I met him at work, she continued, her voice barely a whisper now. His name is Matt. He's in the same department. We started talking a while ago. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I stood there, frozen, the reality of the situation crashing down on me. How long? I asked, barely able to get the words out. A few weeks, she said, her voice trembling. I'm sorry, I never wanted to hurt you. But it was too late. The damage had already been done. I felt the words hanging in the air, thick and heavy, suffocating me. A few weeks, that's all it had taken. Just a few weeks for everything I thought I knew about my wife, about our marriage, to unravel. Matt, her colleague, the man she had been seeing behind my back. I didn't know him, never heard his name before tonight. And yet, here he was, at the center of this chaos, this pain. My stomach turned, and I fought the urge to collapse. It felt like someone had punched me in the gut. But I wouldn't show weakness. Not now. Not when everything was falling apart. So, that's it then, I said, my voice shaking, though I tried to keep it steady. You've been with him for weeks. Behind my back. While I was at home trusting you, loving you, and you were with him? Her face crumpled, and I saw the tears welling up in her eyes, but they didn't move me. Not anymore. The hurt was too deep, the betrayal too fresh. I never meant for it to happen, I swear, she said, stepping closer, reaching out for me. It wasn't planned. I stepped back, cutting her off, my hands raised in the air, not in a gesture of peace, but to stop her. I didn't want her to touch me. I didn't want her pity. No, I said, my voice hard, almost unrecognizable. Don't. Don't try to make excuses. I need to understand, how did this happen? What the hell was I doing wrong? I could see the way she flinched at my words, and it made me feel sick. But I didn't care. I needed answers. I deserved them. We deserved them. I never planned it, she repeated, her voice faltering. It was just, we started talking at work, and things just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far, but when it did, I didn't know how to stop it. I didn't want to hurt you. Stop, I snapped, my chest heaving. Don't say you didn't want to hurt me. You've been lying to me for weeks. You've been sneaking around behind my back, and you're telling me you didn't want to hurt me? She stood there, her mouth trembling, as though she was searching for the right words. But there were no right words. There was no way to fix this. No, I said, shaking my head, anger flooding through me. Say you knew exactly what you were doing. You made a choice. You chose him. And now I have to deal with the consequences. I have to pick up the pieces of this mess you've created. I never wanted this to happen, she said, her voice breaking now, her tears flowing freely. I'm sorry I was wrong. I've ruined everything. Her words fell on deaf ears. The pain was too raw. I couldn't hear her apologies. I couldn't hear her explanations. All I could hear was the sound of my heart shattering, over and over again. You've ruined more than just everything, Sarah, I said, the words cutting through the air like a knife. You've ruined us. You've ruined me. I don't even know who you are anymore. The silence in the room was deafening. The weight of her betrayal pressed down on me like 1,000 tons. I had to leave. I couldn't stay here. Not with her. Not in this place where everything I thought I knew was broken. I grabbed my jacket from the chair and pulled it on, my movements sharp and mechanical. I didn't even look at her. I couldn't. I couldn't bear to see the face of the woman who had betrayed me, who had lied to me, who had ripped my heart out and trampled on it without a second thought. Where are you going? She asked, her voice panicked now, as if she hadn't expected me to react this way, as if she hadn't expected me to actually leave. I paused for a second at the door, taking a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I turned to face her, my eyes burning with anger and sorrow. I'm leaving, I said, my voice cold, empty. I don't know where. I just need space. But you can stay here. Stay with Matt. I'm sure he'll be happy to take care of you. The words stung even as they left my mouth, but I didn't care. I needed to be away from her. away from the woman who had shattered everything I believed in. I opened the door, and just as I stepped outside, I heard her call my name. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. I wasn't sure if I would ever stop hearing her voice in my head again. The air outside was cool against my skin, but it felt like it couldn't touch the suffocating weight in my chest. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I needed to get as far away from her, from the apartment, from everything, as possible. I walked for what felt like hours, my thoughts racing. How did this happen? How could I have been so blind? All those late nights, all those moments when she told me she was working late or had to go in early. How could I have been so stupid? I didn't want to think about it anymore. I just wanted to escape the reality I was living in, to escape the image of her face, the tears in her eyes, the way she apologized, but still didn't seem to fully grasp the depth of what she had done. It wasn't until I was standing at the edge of the park, the cool breeze ruffling my hair, that I got the call. It was my mother. I almost didn't answer. I didn't want to talk to anyone right now, but I felt like I had to, like maybe it would help, even if it didn't. "Hello?" I said, my voice sounding hollow, empty. "Baby?" My mother's voice was soft, concerned. "What's going on? Your dad and I are worried. We heard from Sarah's mom," and I let out a frustrated sigh. "I don't want to talk about it, Mom," I said, rubbing my forehead. I just, I need some time. I can't deal with this right now." "Sweetheart," she said gently, "I know it's hard. I really do. But you can't run away from this. You need to face it. You need to talk to Sarah. And if you don't want to talk to her, talk to us. We're here for you, baby." I closed my eyes. I can't, I don't think I can look at her right now, Mom. She betrayed me. My voice cracked. I clenched my fist, feeling the tears threatening to spill. I know," she said. "But listen to me, okay? You don't have to make any decisions tonight. Don't let this anger make you do something you'll regret. Talk to her when you're ready. Don't make it worse by cutting her off completely, okay?" I didn't respond immediately. My mind was in chaos, and I could barely focus on her words. The pain, the betrayal, the anger, it was too much to process all at once. "All right," I said finally, after a long pause. I'll, I'll think about it." "Good. Just promise me you won't shut everyone out. You have us. Remember that." I hung up, but her words didn't comfort me. They didn't make me feel any better about the situation. I just needed to be away from her, away from everything. I stayed out there for another hour, walking aimlessly until my phone buzzed again. It was from Sarah. "Please, I need to talk. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. Please come home. Please." I stared at the message, the words feeling like a punch to my gut all over again. She never meant to hurt me, but she did. She hurt me in ways I could never have imagined, and the worst part, she didn't even seem to fully understand the extent of it. I didn't respond. Instead, I tossed my phone into my bag and kept walking. I didn't make it back to the apartment that night. I couldn't. I ended up staying at a friend's place, barely sleeping, just trying to wrap my head around everything that had happened. I hadn't heard from Sarah again, but I knew she was probably expecting me to come home. She wanted to talk, to fix things. But how could I fix something that was already broken beyond repair? The next morning, my phone buzzed again. But this time, it wasn't Sarah. It was her best friend, Melanie. "I'm really sorry about what happened, but I just want to let you know that Sarah's been talking about Matt for weeks now. She's been so unhappy with you for months. She says she doesn't feel loved, and she just wants to be with someone who makes her feel good. You know I never liked you two together, and I think she's making the right choice." I stared at the message, stunned. Melanie, her best friend? The same woman who had always smiled at me and acted like everything was fine when we hung out? She had been encouraging Sarah to leave me all this time? It made my blood boil, the betrayal from both of them. I fired off a quick reply, my anger now bubbling to the surface. "I don't care what she says. She's a grown woman. And if she wants to be with someone else, then she can. But it's over, Melanie. Don't act like you had nothing to do with this. You've been poisoning her against me for months, haven't you?" There was no response, but I wasn't done. I needed to hear the truth, all of it. If Sarah was going to make choices, I was going to confront every single one of them. By late afternoon, I finally gave in. I had to face the situation head on. I couldn't keep running away from it. I called her parents. I knew this conversation wouldn't be easy, but I needed to understand why they hadn't done anything, why they hadn't stepped in. Her father, John, picked up. His voice was calm, but I could sense the disappointment, the guilt. "I'm sorry you're going through this," he said. "Sarah's been going through a lot lately, and her mother and I tried talking to her. We knew something was off, but we didn't know how to handle it. We didn't know she'd go this far. We never wanted this for you, son." I clenched my jaw, fighting the rage rising in me. How could you let this happen? How could you not see it? "Look," he said, his voice thick with regret. "She's our daughter. We didn't want to push her, but we see now that we failed her. And we failed you, too. Your failure isn't what hurts," I snapped. "It's that she's been lying to me. She's been with him, and I didn't even know." "I understand," he said quietly. "I'm truly sorry. If there's anything we can do," but there was nothing they could do. Nothing anyone could do. It was too late for apologies. I hung up feeling more alone than I had ever felt in my life. The following days were a blur of emotions, phone calls, and unanswered questions. I couldn't focus. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Everything felt wrong, like I was living in a world that wasn't mine, a world where my wife had chosen someone else. I didn't know what hurt more, the fact that Sarah had lied to me for so long, or that I had ignored every single sign. Now the missed calls, the late nights, the vague excuses. It was all so obvious in hindsight, but I was too blind to see it, too trusting, but I needed to know the full truth. I couldn't let this go without getting every single detail. If Sarah was going to tear everything apart, then I was going to get to the bottom of it all. I called her again. This time, it wasn't a text. This time, I needed her voice. "Sarah," I said when she picked up, "we need to talk. I'm coming over." "Please, not now," she replied, her voice shaky. "I can't—" "No," I interrupted. "This needs to happen. Now." I heard her take a shaky breath. "Okay, but please, just let me explain. I can explain everything. Just give me a chance." I didn't want to hear excuses anymore. I didn't want to hear her pleading. I just wanted the truth, plain and simple. Hush, and I was going to get it. Sarah was sitting on the couch, looking smaller than I had ever seen her. She didn't look like the confident, composed woman I'd married. She looked like someone who had made a mistake she couldn't undo, and now she was paying the price. I stood in the doorway for a moment, just watching her. There was nothing left to say. Everything I'd been feeling these past few days, the anger, the hurt, the betrayal, had been building up to this moment. "Let's get this over with," I said coldly. "Tell me everything. Don't hold back." She looked up at me, her eyes filled with shame. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, but the apology felt empty now. "I never meant for you to find out like this. I never meant to hurt you." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. But it was getting harder. I was done pretending I could just move on. "Who is he, Sarah?" I asked, my voice tight. "Matt. Tell me everything." She hesitated for a moment, and I could see the guilt written all over her face. He's someone I met at work. It started off innocent, just casual conversations. But then it became more. He understood me in ways you didn't anymore." I clenched my fists. "So that's it? You didn't feel understood by me after everything we've been through?" She nodded slowly, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I didn't want to fall for him, but I did." I stared at her, a part of me hoping she would say something that would make it all better, that she would take back what she had done, that there would be a way to fix this. But there was nothing. There was no magic fix. "How long?" I asked, and feeling the weight of those two words like 1,000 tons pressing down on my chest. "A few months," she said quietly. "It wasn't just one time. It became a pattern. We met for lunch sometimes, talked outside of work. It felt like we were connecting." "Were you sleeping with him?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The words tasted bitter, but I had to know. She closed her eyes, her face crumpling with shame. "Yes," she admitted softly. "It happened a few times." "I'm sorry." I felt like the world had been pulled out from under me. My wife, the woman I trusted, the woman I built my life with, had been with someone else. And not just once, but repeatedly. She had betrayed me in the worst way possible. Why? I choked out. Why did you do this? Why him? I don't know, she whispered. Things weren't working between us. You were always so busy with work. I felt like I was fading into the background. Matt, he was there. He listened. He made me feel like I mattered again. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. I had been so wrapped up in my own life that I didn't even see the cracks forming in our marriage. I didn't even notice that she was slipping away. Did you ever think about us? About what we had? I asked, my voice cracking. Did it ever cross your mind that maybe you should try to fix this before you ran to someone else? She broke down at that. Tears streamed down her face as she buried her head in her hands. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought it was just a phase, but then it got out of hand and I didn't know how to stop. I stood there staring at her, the woman I had once loved, and now nothing more than a stranger sitting in front of me. I didn't recognize her anymore. I can't believe this, I said, shaking my head. I don't know who you are anymore. I never wanted this, she whispered, barely able to speak through her sobs. I didn't mean for it to get this far. I love you, I do, but I messed up. You messed up? I repeated, my voice rising in anger. You didn't just mess up, Sarah. You destroyed everything. You destroyed us. And now I have to pick up the pieces of a life I didn't ask for. The room fell silent after that. Neither of us spoke for a long time. My chest felt tight with all the emotions I didn't know how to express. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shout. I wanted to break down and cry, but I couldn't. I had to keep it together, even if it was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Sarah looked up at me, her eyes swollen from crying. What are we going to do now? She asked softly. I didn't have an answer. I didn't know. I couldn't see a way forward. I could hardly even see a way out of the pain. I spent the next few days in a daze. It was like I was walking through life as though it wasn't mine. I barely slept, barely ate, and when I did, it felt like the food was lodged in my throat. The apartment felt foreign now. The space where we once laughed and shared moments of love and comfort now felt hollow, suffocating. Every corner of the room was a reminder of the life I had lost, the life that had been shattered in a single moment. I didn't speak to Sarah after that night. I couldn't. The distance between us had grown so vast that it seemed impossible to cross. I knew I had to face her eventually. No, but I couldn't bring myself to. The betrayal was still too raw, the sting too fresh. Instead, I buried myself in work. It was the only thing that kept my mind occupied, the only thing that allowed me to keep the demons at bay. But even work couldn't fill the emptiness I felt. Every time I checked my phone, there was a message from Sarah. Every time I opened the door to the apartment, I was reminded of her absence. I couldn't escape it. I couldn't escape her. It was the following weekend when my phone buzzed again. This time, I didn't even check who it was. I already knew. It was her. But something in me changed. I didn't feel the same anger I had felt before. Instead, I felt numb, as if all the emotions had been drained out of me, leaving behind a hollow shell of the person I used to be. I opened the message. I'm sorry. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I just need to say it. I never wanted to hurt you. I've been thinking a lot, and I can't imagine my life without you. Matt was a mistake. I know that now, but I want to make things right. Please give me another chance. Her words were desperate, pleading, and for the briefest moment, I felt a flicker of something inside me, a hope that maybe, just maybe, things could go back to the way they were. But I quickly shut it down. It wasn't that easy. You don't just erase the betrayal. You don't just forget the lies. I didn't reply. I couldn't. But as the days went on, something else happened. I started thinking about the conversation we had, about the way she had said she didn't feel loved anymore. That was what hit me hardest. She felt neglected. She felt alone. And she had found comfort in someone else because I hadn't been there. But why hadn't I been there? It wasn't because I didn't care. It wasn't because I didn't love her, but somewhere along the way I had let the cracks form without noticing. We had both let them form. We had both stopped trying. I was sitting in my favorite coffee shop, trying to get some work done, when I received another message from her. This time it was a phone call. I stared at the screen, my finger hovering over the decline button. I didn't want to pick up. I didn't want to hear the desperation in her voice, the remorse, but I couldn't help myself. I swiped to answer. "Hello?" I said, my voice guarded. "Please, can we talk?" she said, her voice shaky. "I can't stand this silence between us. I miss you. I miss us." I felt a pang in my chest at her words. But I pushed it away. "I don't think we can fix this, Sarah," I said, the words tasting bitter as they left my mouth. "You made a choice. You chose him. And that's something I can't just forget. I can't just move on like you want me to." "I know," she said, her voice breaking, "and I hate myself for it. I regret it every single day, but I've been trying to make sense of it, and I know I was wrong. I was so wrong." I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "So what now, Sarah? You want me to just forgive you? Like it didn't happen?" "No, that's not what I'm asking. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I want the chance to prove that I can change, that I can be the woman you deserve. I'm willing to do whatever it takes." I took a moment, letting her words sink in. What if? What if she really meant it? And what if this wasn't just another plea for forgiveness, but a genuine desire to fix what had been broken? Could we really rebuild from the rubble of the life we had shared? I didn't know, and honestly, I wasn't sure I was ready to find out. The following Sunday, I was sitting at home, still unsure of where I stood, when there was a knock on the door. I opened it, and to my surprise, it was Sarah's parents, John and Linda. They stepped inside, their faces serious, their expressions heavy with guilt. I had spoken to them briefly after the whole thing went down, but they hadn't come by in person. "Hey," I said, unsure of what to say. "What's going on?" "Can we sit?" John asked. "We need to talk." I nodded, leading them to the couch. "I know things are bad right now," Linda said, her voice soft, almost apologetic. "And we know Sarah has hurt you, but we wanted to talk to you. We're not here to make excuses for her. But as her parents, we see the toll this has taken on you too." I didn't speak, but I nodded. "We've talked to her," John said. "We've tried to explain that she's messed up, that she has a lot to make up for. But we also know that she's not the only one at fault here." I raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean by that?" Linda exchanged a look with her husband. "We know Sarah made a mistake, but we also know she was unhappy for a while. She stopped talking to us about what was going on in her life. She felt distant from you, and we saw the signs, but we didn't know how to help her. We think you both need to take a step back and really talk about what went wrong," John said. "Now, before you make any decisions about what comes next." Their words hit me harder than I expected. They weren't just apologizing for Sarah's behavior. They were holding up a mirror to me, forcing me to acknowledge that I had a part in this too. The days that followed were filled with silence and uncertainty. The weight of Sarah's betrayal still hung over me like a heavy fog, clouding my every thought. But there was something else, now something I hadn't expected: doubt. I had always believed that when something like this happened, there was no coming back from it. That betrayal was an irreversible wound. But now, as I sat with Sarah's parents and listened to their words, I couldn't help but wonder if there was a chance for us to salvage what we had lost. They had made a good point. We both had a part in this. I had been so focused on my career, on everything except her. I had missed the signs. I had missed the fact that she was withdrawing, that she was unhappy, and worse, I had taken her for granted. In many ways, I had been blind to the cracks forming in our relationship. But did that mean I had to forgive her? Could I even want to forgive her? I knew that no matter what, I would never forget what she had done. The image of her face when she told me the truth would never leave me. But forgiveness was a choice, wasn't it? A choice that I had to make for myself, not for her. The question gnawed at me for days. Could we really start over? Could I trust her again? Did I even want to? I spent the entire weekend trying to figure it out. I called friends, I sought advice. I even talked to my therapist. And the one thing I kept hearing, from everyone, was that I had to make the decision. No one could make it for me. I couldn't keep holding on to the anger. I couldn't let the betrayal define my entire life. But it wasn't easy. Nothing about this felt easy. It felt like I was being asked to choose between my past and my future. It was Sunday night when I finally made the decision to reach out to Sarah. I didn't want to see her in person just yet. I wasn't ready for that. But I knew we needed to talk face to face about what had happened and what the future would hold for us, if there was a future at all. I sent her a message. We need to talk. Let's meet tomorrow. It was simple, direct. No more dancing around the issue. I couldn't pretend things were fine, but I wasn't ready to throw it all away either. Not yet. Her reply came instantly. Please, yes. That's on, I'll be there. The next day, I found myself sitting at the same coffee shop where everything had started to unravel. It felt like a lifetime ago, when Sarah and I had come here so many times, laughing over coffee and talking about our dreams. But now, as I sat at the table, I couldn't help but wonder if those dreams had all been shattered beyond repair. When she walked in, I felt a rush of emotions. The woman I had loved, the woman who had hurt me so deeply, was standing in front of me. Her eyes were red from crying, her face pale and drawn. She looked broken. I stood up as she approached, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. We just stood there, facing each other, the weight of everything unsaid between us. I'm sorry, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I never wanted to hurt you. I wish I could take everything back. I didn't reply immediately. I just stared at her, trying to process the fact that she was here, that she was asking for forgiveness, that she was still holding on to the hope that we could make it through this. Why? I asked, my voice thick with emotion. Why did you do it, Sarah? You could have come to me. You could have talked to me, but you chose to be with him. She shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. I felt so alone. And when Matt started paying attention to me, it felt like I mattered again. I know it was wrong, and I'm so sorry. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. The pain was still there, still fresh, but I was trying to keep my emotions in check. I need to know one thing, I said, my voice shaky. Was it ever real? Were we ever real, or was it just a lie? Did you ever love me, Sarah? Her face crumpled as she nodded, the tears falling freely now. I loved you. I still love you. I never meant for any of this to happen. But I was lost, and I didn't know how to find my way back. Her words tore at me. They made me feel like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure of whether to jump or to step back. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to hold on to the love we had, but the pain of betrayal was still too raw. I don't know if I can do this, I said, my voice breaking. I don't know if I can trust you again. I'll do whatever it takes, she said, her voice desperate. I'll prove to you that I can be the woman you deserve. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but please, don't throw us away. I stared at her, my mind racing. And the woman I had loved, the woman who had destroyed me, was begging for another chance. But was I ready to give it to her? We sat in silence for a while, neither of us knowing what to say next. The weight of everything we had been through hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Finally, I spoke. I don't know what's going to happen from here, Sarah, but I can't make this decision yet. I need time. I need to figure out if I can ever trust you again, if I can ever love you the way I used to. She nodded, her face a mixture of relief and sorrow. I understand, she said quietly. Take all the time you need. I'll wait. And with that, we both stood up. The conversation wasn't over, but it had taken a step toward resolution. I didn't know where we would go from here. I didn't know if we could ever get back to what we once had. But, for the first time since the betrayal, I felt like there was a chance. A small chance. The days following our conversation were quiet. Too quiet. I had gone through the motions, working, eating, and sleeping, but nothing felt the same. Sarah continued to reach out to me, but I didn't know what to say anymore. I couldn't bring myself to reply, to dive back into the same cycle of promises and apologies. My heart was still heavy with the betrayal, and I knew it wasn't something I could just shake off in a few days. I still felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, unable to decide whether to take the leap or pull back. But one thing was clear. I couldn't continue like this, stuck in the uncertainty of what had happened. I had to make a decision. I owed it to myself to find some kind of peace, whether it was with Sarah or without her. One evening, a few days later, I met up with my old college friends. We had been close back then, but over the years, we'd all gone our separate ways. Now, it seemed like the right time to reconnect. I needed a different perspective, a fresh set of eyes to help me see things more clearly. Over a few beers, I told them everything, every detail. I didn't hold anything back, just unloaded it all. The late nights, the texts, the betrayal. They listened intently, nodding and offering their support, but also, surprisingly, some tough love. Look, Mark, one of my closest friends said after a long pause, I get it. You're hurt. You feel betrayed. But let's be real here, man. Sarah made a mistake, a huge one. But so did you. You were absent. You weren't there for her when she needed you the most. You were so caught up in your own life that she felt alone. His words hit me harder than I expected. I had known it deep down, but hearing it from someone else made it impossible to ignore. I wasn't a perfect husband, I admitted, my voice thick with regret. I neglected her. I didn't see the signs, but cheating? There's no excuse for that. Mark nodded. I'm not saying you should just forgive her and move on, but I think you need to decide what you want. Do you want to throw away everything because of one mistake? Or do you want to try and rebuild? Because right now you're holding on to the pain, and it's killing you. I sat there, staring at my beer. His words echoed in my mind. He was right. I was letting the pain consume me, and it was turning me into someone I didn't recognize. The hurt was real, but so was the love I had for Sarah. The love we had built together, even before all the mistakes. I don't know, I said softly. I don't know if I can forgive her. You don't have to forgive her right away, Mark replied. But you need to let go of the anger. You need to decide what you want out of this. And you need to do it for you, not for her. I was silent for a long time after that. There was so much to think about, so much to process. The weight of everything hung heavily on my chest. But for the first time since Sarah's betrayal, I felt like maybe there was hope. Maybe there was a chance to rebuild, not just our relationship, but myself. The following week, I went back to the apartment. I had spent days thinking, reflecting, and most importantly, trying to let go of the anger that had consumed me. I didn't want to keep living in the past. I needed to face the future, whatever it was going to be. Sarah was there when I arrived. She was sitting on the couch, looking up at me with a mixture of hope and fear. She was waiting for me to make a decision, and I knew I couldn't put it off any longer. I took a deep breath and sat down beside her. There was so much I wanted to say, but I didn't know where to begin. Sarah, I started, my voice trembling. I've spent so much time angry at you, but I've also spent a lot of time angry at myself. I wasn't there for you. I didn't see what you were going through, and I didn't listen to the signs. She didn't speak, but I saw the tears in her eyes. She knew what was coming, and I could feel her fear. I can't just forgive you, Sarah, I continued. What we did, wasn't just a mistake. It was betrayal. And I'm not sure I can ever look at you the same way. She closed her eyes, the tears finally falling. I wanted to reach out, to comfort her. But I knew I needed to be strong. I needed to finish what I had started. But, I said, my voice softer now, I also know that love doesn't just disappear. And maybe, just maybe, we can try to rebuild. Not everything can be fixed. I know that. But I'm willing to try. If you are, if you want to put in the effort to rebuild what we had. She looked at me, her eyes wide with shock, as if she couldn't believe what I was saying. You mean, you're willing to try? After everything? I nodded. I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know if we'll ever be the same. But I want to see if we can get there. Together. She took a shaky breath and then, for the first time in weeks, she smiled genuine and tearful. Thank you, she whispered. It wasn't going to be easy. I knew that. There were still so many things we needed to work through, trust issues, unresolved pain, and the damage that had been done. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like there was a glimmer of hope. We were taking the first steps toward healing. And that was all I could ask for. I didn't know where the road would take us, but at least we were facing it together. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had a similar experience as such. How did you navigate through it? Were you able to bounce back, or has it left you completely shattered? Tell me, what do you think I should have done or done better? Also, don't forget to support this channel's growth by subscribing to the channel and liking this video. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.